Now, New Hope, I met Andrea Mullins at the Christian Booksellers Convention. And I was very sad to hear, because I had been going since 1986, and I was very sad to hear 2 years ago that it is now out of business because there are so few Christian bookstores left. But I used to go every year because there were editors there, and I would take whatever my latest proposal was, and I'd make appointments with 15, 20 editors. You do get rejection in this business. You know, I think my best example of that is my rest stops for single moms. I think I spoke to 17 different editors, and I got 16 rejections. They said things like, do you think single moms read, or our denomination doesn't have any single moms? And I thought, no, it probably doesn't. But then Brahman Holman picked it up, and that sold 20,000 copies in the trade division. So you need if you're going to write books, you need a thick skull, or thick hide, I guess I should say. But now I think I've gotten, and then, like I said, I met Andrea Mullins there, and she and I really bonded, and she wanted some issues books for women. And the first one we did was Wounded by Words, because I'd had experience with verbal abuse, so had one of my co-authors, and my other third co-author is a family therapist, so she had she'd had experience herself with that, but she also had many, many patients who are clients, I guess they call them, who had been verbally abused. And that book's done quite well on its own. It's still in print, and it's still doing well, and I think it came out in 2008 or something like that. And then we decided to do one on suicide. It's too soon to say goodbye. My other, Karen Kosman, my second co-author, son had taken his own life, and so we did that book. And I know Jeannie, the therapist, said that people who bought that book, some of them were suicidal, and when they read the book, they changed their mind. And I thought the main purpose was to encourage those who were left behind, but it also, I think, helped those who had been suicidal. And then our third book, you said research. This was a stretch, because once we did the verbal abuse, they wanted domestic violence. So Breaking Invisible Chains was my latest book that I did for them. And I had no experience whatsoever with domestic violence. But a man at my church who was a detective hooked me up with a detective in Tustin who's head of a domestic violence unit. He did Detective Tom's tips all the way through. Jeannie, again, had a lot of clients who were abused. And so what she's done in all three books, is after the stories, we collect stories from many different people, and then she writes words from Jeannie afterwards, which tells, did they do the right thing in the story? Is there something else they could have done? Is there some way they could have gotten out of this situation or handled it differently, or did they do a wonderful job? So, and then at the back of that book is an appendix that tells people how to get out of domestic violence situations. It's written by a woman that's in charge of a huge shelter in Montgomery, Alabama, and what to take with you and these type things. Because my heart really went out. People go back time and time again. And in the middle of writing that book, my husband's stepsister's daughter was going to go home. She'd been in an abusive situation, and she gave her the money. She didn't have her suitcase was overweight, so she'd been staying with a friend, but she decided to go get more clothes out of her house. She got to her house, and the man that had abused her stabbed her with a knife and killed her. So in the middle of writing this book, I had my own experience with domestic violence. And, these people tend to go back time and time again, and that's why I wanted to get this book in as many hands as I could to try to keep people out of these situations. And then Andrea retired. We had several other books we were going to do, and when we retired, they decided to quit the series and to go back to doing basically Bible studies and those type materials. And